I have had so many near-death experiences that I can't even remember them all. I pray to God every night and thank Him for looking after me and keeping me safe every day. The time I had pneumonia was one near-death experience. I am grateful God helped me and kept me alive. I have talked about the pneumonia near-death experience later, in one of the chapters in this book. I had viral pneumonia, and was in quarantine from the community for 3 months. I am grateful for the doctors and nurses helping me get well again. There was a time when I was walking to school, and I was crossing a train track. I underestimated how fast the train was going. I crossed the track, and as soon as I crossed, the train was right next to my ankle on my right foot. I almost got hit. The train beeped its horn at me, and I was so embarrassed. I felt so grateful that God protected me. I was in shock the whole day. Another time, well, it's not really a near-death experience, but more of a moment of bad health. I was bedridden for 10 days because I was taking an Irish sea moss supplement, and it gave me arsenic poisoning and extreme dehydration and low blood pressure. I had no friends or family to look after me. I couldn't even feed my cats, only a few times after crawling to go feed them. I was so sick and passing out of consciousness. All my muscles were sore and restless. It was the worst and most lonely time of my life. I remember how isolated I felt. I was also financially struggling and wanted to give up. I couldn't afford to take time off work. The days literally went by my window, and I just laid in my bed riddled with extreme anxiety. I couldn't even go to the shop. I just drank water, and I lost 6 kilograms in 10 days. On the 10th day, I went to the doctor. I had bad anxiety and felt like I was going to collapse on the floor. I got in straight away. The doctor said I had arsenic poisoning and I need to take hydrolyte. I took hydrolyte, so much of it. I finally started feeling better. I threw the bottle of Irish sea moss into the bin. Now I warn other people about taking it. Not everyone can take Irish sea moss, especially if you have an underlying health condition like celiacs. At that time, I really wanted support. I just wanted a hug. From anyone. I felt so vulnerable. I had bills to pay and was falling behind because I got sick. That added to my anxiety. Irish sea moss was a huge hype on YouTube, so that's why I decided to try it. Right before I got sick from it, I was getting anxiety, and I didn't know why, but I kept going to work, but felt anxious and exhausted. On the first day I called in sick. They wouldn't let me take the day off, so I started driving to my first job. Halfway there I was sweating, my heart was beating fast, and I felt anxious. I turned around and drove home. The office was upset with me, but I had to go home to rest. I had to keep telling the office all week that I won't be able to work. They kept me on the roster. It was so frustrating, and I was made out to be a bad, unreliable person when they weren't listening to me. I was sick, and they wouldn't take me seriously. They should have taken me seriously considering COVID was still going around. Nowadays if I get anxiety, I just drink lots of water and hydrolyte, because in my opinion it caused from being dehydrated. I also check my iron and have plenty of iron too. I feel afraid of getting sick again, because I have no support. I have God though, and He sees everything that I go through. It's October 2023 now, writing this, and I'm hoping maybe in the future, I will find supportive people, and maybe real friends. Maybe in the future, there will be doctors that come to your house, for people bedridden with no support or family help hopefully. Other near-death experiences were of me choking on food. Once at a workplace on my break I ate an Oreo biscuit, and I choked on it. One employee came and saved me by hitting my back repeatedly. He saved my life. Another time, I was eating fried eggs and the crunchy part got stuck in my windpipe. I almost choked to death. I lost my breath and almost had a panic attack. I was home alone too, so I felt scared. And another time, I ate a bullet chili. It was so hot I lost my breath and was going out of consciousness. I was a mess, and my saliva was pouring out like a tap. Milk wouldn't even help cool down my mouth. I literally couldn't breathe. I almost had a panic attack with that experience too. Asterisk, I try not to overcook my eggs nowadays, and I'm careful about chewing my food properly. God has always protected me and kept me alive. He sent me strong angels to watch over me. Sometimes I get a glimpse of a golden or silver orb in my peripheral vision. They show themselves sometimes if I'm in a relaxed, peaceful mood. I always know they are there watching over me. I am so grateful. One time, I was learning to drive and was driving up a hill on a gravel road. Next minute, a huge truck comes out of nowhere. Luckily, I swerved to the left just in time. Me and my popper could have gotten wiped out that day. I have had countless near-close call, near-death experiences with cars and trucks on the roads. I can't even remember them all. I have been so lucky, and I am grateful God protected me. When I had my PS, I used to drive in the dark on country roads. God protected me from kangaroos and bad things happening. I didn't have a bull bar or spotlights. I was protected. God also protected me from all the times my ex used to drive. He used to drive in the middle of the road at night. He would swerve around being silly trying to scare me. And he would drive my car with just a tip of his finger, because he wanted to scare me and disrespect me. Asterisk, I talk more about those experiences in a later chapter. One time in my 20s, God protected me from my regular postie. He was an older man who became clingy and obsessed with me. If I didn't answer the door, he would keep knocking and yelling my name. Sometimes I answered the door in my gown because he would wait until I answered, and I was in bed. It made me feel violated. One time a customer gave me some weed and I decided to cook a brownie because I wanted to try it for the first time. So, I cooked the brownie and it smelled the whole house. I didn't realize how potent the brownie would be and I ate the whole thing. I put on a movie called Jumanji, the newer version, and laughed the whole way through. By myself too, because I didn't have any friends. Then the postie came to drop off a letter, and I answered the door. He could obviously smell the brownie, and I was out of it. I told him I was drunk, then he asked what I drank. I made something up like Sky vodka, then I remember him asking heaps of questions, and he was getting close to me. So I eventually went inside and laid on my bed. He came up to my bedroom window trying to look in with his helmet on. He was knocking on my window and pretending to call the police. I went into an uncontrollable panic, and I started shivering and shaking. He finally left and I was sweating cold sweat and grinding my teeth. I was upset by that because I just had dental done. I was panicking for hours, sweating cold sweat and shaking. I was chewing my blanket to protect my teeth. The only thing that saved me was imagining a guy I liked at work hugging me and keeping me safe. I felt alone like never before, complete isolation and unsafe. I had severe anxiety for weeks after that. I couldn't drive anywhere, except work. Also, we were going through a pandemic, so I was extra anxious. One time I started driving to a shopping center and had to turn around and go home. I felt like I was going to faint and pass out. I got home and started going into a panic attack. I was pacing around the table trying to calm myself down. I remember I started spitting and all kinds of things. Then I grabbed some leftover pizza and started eating that. The pizza stopped me from having a panic attack. I think my blood pressure dropped low, and that's why I experienced the panic. I didn't go anywhere for months after I had the brownie. I had bad anxiety. I haven't had weed ever since then, and never will again. Some herbs lower my blood pressure, like when I did an Irish sea moss cleanse. Doing that almost killed me.